And today I have a special guest with us. Her name is Gina Sandoval, and she is a friend of mine. We've known each other, since weren't Elijah and Anna in preschool together?
Preschool, yes.
So it's been a long time. But the reason why I asked Gina to come today is because, I don't spend tons of time on social media, but occasionally I see posts, and I kept seeing just over the months these posts of hers, and I just saw a different smile on her face. I just saw some different things going on. And so I contacted her to check in with her and just see what was going on, because it just seemed inspiring and I wanted to hear more behind the story. And so I invited her here today to share some of that story with us, because hearing other people's stories is incredibly impactful. And sometimes there's just a nugget of something that they share that is the thing that you needed to hear to help get you going. So Gina, welcome today.
Hello.
And so
thanks for having me.
have a conversation here, and essentially same conversation we had, I guess it was about a week ago, 10 days ago, about what's going on with you, and what has transpired for you over the recent past, and how did that begin?
So I always kind of say, how did your story start off? So it wasn't the best reasons behind why, my transformation started. I separated from my marriage of 21 years back in April of 2020, which was also a month after the pandemic started, right? So I think March 13th, 2020, I was sent home to work from home. A month later, I was separated. We had been together for 26 years total. So I hadn't been single since I was 21. And so I think that first month, I would say from April 15th, which is when we separated, until June, I remember it was a very difficult, challenging time in my life. But it was just like I woke up one day and I was like, okay, I'm gonna make something positive happen, and decided to join Weight Watchers because, I was out single again after not being single since I was 21 years old. I was the heaviest I had ever been, because I think I was even a couple pounds heavier than my second pregnancy, which was the heaviest I had ever been. Partially because, right, when we were going through the pandemic, if you were like me, like ordering groceries and ice cream, and that's all we did was eat, right? And so I probably put on 15 or 20 pounds just in that time. And it just was like, I had the time, I was working from home, and I was like, I didn't feel like I had any sort of a timeline. Like, I have lost weight before in my life. I've always gone up and down. And I think in my 20-year high school reunion, I lost a bunch of weight and I set a timeline. And then after the reunion was over, I put the weight back on. But for me, this was just like, hey, you can't go anywhere, but you can't do anything. But maybe, I think walking was probably the only thing we were really able to do in June of 2020, right? They're like, get outside. And
right.
So I just started walking and eating right and doing Weight Watchers, which I absolutely love, and started working about 2 miles a day, and worked my way up over the months to 4 to 5 miles a day. And, in the first year, gradually lost it, and I up to lost 118 pounds now. So
that's incredible. That is just incredible. And so when would you say you started? Did you say June of 2020 is when you actually started walking?
That's when I started walking and really doing, I think I started Weight Watchers a couple weeks before I started walking, just to kind of get used to doing that. And then I added in the walking, and it was so therapeutic. Like it was, I'd put my earphones in, and probably anybody that lives in the Oakwood area would see me like dance walking, like I didn't care, doing my little dances down the street. And it just, I think too, and we talked about this before, but I, mother of 2 boys, both heavily involved in sports. I was a homeroom mom. I worked full time. I really dedicated everything I had. My oldest was in travel baseball. We would do 60 games a year, and I really just didn't focus on myself at all. So I felt like the pandemic gave me that time. That was the first year that we didn't have 60 baseball games a year because baseball was canceled. And, so it was like, what am I going to do with all this time that I usually dedicated to my kids and their activities? And so I developed an absolute love for walking and just actually taking care of like having the time to take care of myself, which is something I hadn't done.
That's something I wanted to ask you about. So just thinking back, like going back to, when you first got married and you had kids, what would you say led to not taking care of yourself? Or, well, let me ask it this way, I guess, before you got married and had kids, would you say you were a person who did do self-care, or is that something that's just coming now?
I think that I did do self-care before I was married. I felt like I was in fact, I remember people being like, oh my gosh, look at, like, they did not think I'd be the type of mom I was, because I was I had a lot of friends and did a lot of things, but I think people thought of me as somebody who was maybe a little more self-involved.
Okay.
And so when I'm really the kind of person, when I do something, I'm all in with it. And I think that's kind of what happened when I had kids. My oldest was born and he had to go to the NICU. And I just remember it just kind of turned me into this hands-on, frantic mom. And he had a heart murmur and just a lot of things that really, I think, made me an anxious mom that almost turned me kind of into a, had to control everything mom because of how I handled my anxiety and stuff. So I think I just even though everyone tells you, right? What does everyone tell you? You have to take time for yourself. You have to carve this out for you. You have to work on your marriage and your relationship. The kids can't be the center of it all. It's just whatever force was pulling me, I was not able to make that distinction, I think, that and really worry about myself. I thought I was doing the right thing by focusing on them and not focusing on myself.
Yeah. I think that's an interesting point that we hear everywhere, that you need to not make the kids the center. You need to make sure you take care of yourself. And yet we fall into that where we don't.
Right. And I would say that was 100% the downfall of my marriage. There's no scandal behind it. We respect each other. They're still the center of our relationship, and we still do that. But that would be what the downfall of that was. And so then when the kids get older, it's exactly what you think it is. Like you find that you don't have anything in common anymore, and it's time to...
Let me ask you this. If you could share something with maybe some of our audience who maybe is on the just starting out with getting married and, looking to have kids, knowing what you know, and even though you knew, not to let those things happen, that it was so easy to fall into that. If there was a nugget that you could leave with them that might help them to avoid that or overcome that or fight that, what might that be?
I would say, fight the guilt with everything you've got. Like, if you feel like you need to take time for yourself, make that time for yourself and make that a priority, and don't feel guilty about it. And don't let other people, if something else pops up that your kids need, or find somebody else to take care of that, or put that off and make that be the sacrifice and not you. Because I think that was definitely a big mistake that I made, up to that point. And I think that I didn't realize that until, like I said, the pandemic happened. And then he actually didn't move out until October, and visitation started. And when I was able to guilt-free go do everything I wanted, there were some days I started walking 6 miles because I'm like, oh, I can just keep going. And I'd be gone for 3 hours, doing those things. And just girlfriends call and be like, what do you want to do tonight? I think I told you too, I'm taking tap dancing now.
I love that.
you
I
know,
love that.
which is something was on my bucket list because I was a competitive dancer growing up and had always wanted to get back to it, but I wasn't in shape to do it. And so the fact that I was able to do it completely guilt-free, like make that time guilt-free for yourself while you're still, even if you have to take time away from your kids, understand that that's making you better for them ultimately.
So it's just interesting, I think, talking through this because I experienced some of the same things. Okay.
Right.
I think talking through this, it's just becoming apparent to me that when you're walking through that time in your life, there are multiple philosophies that have a microphone that are speaking into your ear.
Right. Exactly.
One of them is the one that says, oh, you can't have your kids be the center. You got to focus on your relationship. You got to do all these things. And then there's this other voice that says, if you are taking care of yourself, that you're being selfish. Right.
Right.
And then there's that guilt factor, because that's a word I heard you mention quite a lot just now. And I felt the same thing. And then you feel guilty, right?
Right.
Like you're being selfish. And so you've got these two microphones that are speaking at you. And it seems to me that for women who are in that time of their life, that guilty microphone is a lot louder than the one that says you really need to be not letting your kids be the center of everything, and you do need to focus on your relationship. But this guilt one holds a lot of weight, and it's really loud.
It does, for sure. And that's where I think I didn't even realize how loud it was until I had permission, right, to focus on myself. And so now, it's been great because even, my tap class is on a night that I do have my son, and it's okay. It's, I try to balance it and make sure that there's not, too much time that we're not spending together or all of those things. But, and in the past, I may not have taken that tap class and it brings me so much joy. And I think I got the best confirmation of how this affects my kids. And I could get a little emotional talking about this, but for Christmas, they bought me Christmas presents. And the first one I opened was from Elijah, my 16-year-old, and he gave me a sign that said, "She believed she could, so she did." And so their dad told me when they were shopping, like, Elijah said, "I know exactly what I want to get her." And he went right over and got it. And so then Landon, my oldest one, said, "Ooh, I want to go that theme too." And so he walked over and got me a sign that said, "Happiness looks gorgeous on you." And those are like my two. And I was like, it's not just that I love seeing those signs when I walk past them, but like they get it, right? Like they understand the journey that I've taken, and they see that I was in a tough spot 18 months ago, and I didn't know what I was, I had a whole lot of things that, taking care of a household for the first time, learning to be a single mom after all this time. But they see that that's the message that they took from that, like, is priceless to me, more than anything. So
I think that's really awesome, because I think that speaks volumes. And it just kind of confirms what I saw, right? Like I saw our paths cross in various ways, but not necessarily super close all the time, right?
Right.
But just from at a distance, I could tell and I could see something had changed in your life, and that was powerful. And clearly, by talking to you, it's not just about losing weight. It's not just about those things. It's not just about the physical part. Something has changed about your whole countenance. And that just, to me, goes to show that you cannot separate. I know it's a message you've heard me say over and over in here, girls. You cannot separate your mind and your body, your emotions, your spirit. You are all of those wrapped up in one. And what is going on with one affects all of the others. It is so important to take care of yourself. It's not selfish. When you do that, it can change your countenance. It can change your physical appearance, not just by the number you see on the scale, but how other people see you and perceive you. And
Right.
I just think you're a walking poster board for that, Gina. So
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm glad, and I love, like, now I do, like, one of the best parts has been that I think 5 of my friends have joined Weight Watchers, or a couple of them have started walking, or like, and so our conversations around like food prepping and those sorts of things now, and like those things, I think that's the other lesson I've learned is, when you're in a relationship and you're in a situation. I was in for 26 years, and I felt like I had everything planned out, and things didn't go how I expected them to go. So the biggest lesson I think I learned from that was you got to be willing to listen to everything. If things aren't working for you, don't be so dead set. Like, I pretty much, you tell me, hey, this works for me, I'm going to try it. you know and I love doing that for other people too. Like, okay, well, have you tried this, or have you tried that? And like, just that whole network of women building each other up has been, I don't know how, that definitely has helped me get to where I am.
all right. So just to kind of sum up the things that I've heard from you, one, it wasn't just about the physical, it was also about the mental. It's
Mhm.
not just about doing it by yourself.
Right,
Accountability and talking with other people help you get there. It's a
right.
tremendous support. Um, just take a few minutes, if you would, and share with me. I think from what I heard you say, the steps that you took to change some of your ways of life, while they've yielded a massive change, sound like you started out taking small steps. You didn't make a massive change to begin with. Is that
I did
right?
not. No, for sure. I did not. And that's one of the things and I'm not, this is not a Weight Watchers plug at all, but that's one of the things, they kind of start you out with a lot of points and bring you down. So you don't have to change your complete habits right away, right? Like, so it kind of gradually works it out. Did the same thing with walking. And actually, I don't think I mentioned this yet, but like, I walked for a year, but then last August I had a friend at work. We came back to work after being the pandemic, and she had started working out. I have never, ever, ever in my life worked out. And at 48 years old, I walked into Kettering Fit Body Boot Camp for the first time in my life. And I just, you hold your breath, and you, like, I always joke that like the first one was kind of like going to that doctor's appointment you don't want to go to. Like, you have to go, but and you do it anyway, but you dread it. And so maybe that was what the first week was like. And the second week was like, oh, it's like going to the DMV. And now I love it. Now I'm like this week I can't go. And I'm like, oh, I wish I could, it really kills me not to be able to go. And
Mhm.
I never in a million years would have thought that I'd be working out. So from June to 2020 to August of 2021, I
Mhm.
walked, and then now I work out. I've been working out since August.
Mhm.
I don't walk as much as I can't wait for the weather to break again, because I can't walk like I did, but this has been nice because I have that supplement. So, and never in a million years would I have thought I actually work out.
So when you first started out, did you set goals for yourself? Like, did you set weight loss goals of this is how much I want to lose by this time period, and have you reached your goal? Have you reached your final goal?
So I am 10 pounds from my goal. I've not really, since I started working out, the weight loss has stopped. I think I'm gaining muscle, I guess, instead
Mhm.
of, because I went from a size 22 to a size 12. I can actually even put on a 10. I'm almost there.
That's awesome.
So I think that I'm losing inches, but not as much weight. So I think that stalled me a little bit. But I think the biggest thing, no, I didn't. You have to put a goal in for Weight Watchers. And so I put one in, and I'm 10 pounds from that right now.
Mhm.
But I think the biggest thing I did for myself is not really put a timeline on it.
Mhm.
And the the biggest thing I would say I did for myself is anytime I walked past a mirror and felt frustrated, like, oh, it's never gonna, I would just pat myself and say, it's all right, you'll get there. Because it doesn't matter if it happens this year or next year. Like, just get up the next day and keep trying. Like, so I think that's the biggest favor I've done for myself, is not putting a timeline on it. and being okay with, wherever I am. And if it's not, because I've hit a plateau right now, but I'm still, that's counting my points every single day.
So you've just made a lifestyle, a mindset lifestyle change.
For sure.
Physical lifestyle change. And
right.
You always hear that, like, if you want it to be successful and you don't want to be doing this all the time, that's what it takes. But I know for me, it took something to change up here before that became a reality. It took changing my view from I need to lose weight because I feel gross about myself.
Right.
I need to grow my mind because that's the only way I'm going to make it. It changed when I started doing this Better Mind and Body Challenge to, no, I'm going out there today because I want to feel stronger. I want to be able to face the things that come my way and not get knocked down by it. I don't want to be doing this all the time. That's what changed for me. And when I just started taking it slowly, instead of going all in, right? I just started going slowly. It was very different. It was very different. It's the only time in my life it's ever been that way. And now I desire to continue doing it instead of feeling like I have to punish myself to get there. It's something I want to do. And it's very different.
For sure. And I think too, just taking it easy on yourself is the biggest favor you can do, and understand that, like, it's not, like you said, it's got to be up here, and it's not always going to show on the scale or in your clothes, but if you just keep at it, it will. Like, if there's you'll get where you need to be. Yep. So I think, just like I said, cut yourself some slack. That's the biggest thing I've done. Yep. For sure.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else that's just on your heart right now that you want to share with the ladies?
Not that I can really think of, but I think the other thing you kind of touched on was the whole strength aspect. And, like, I think, being 48 and thinking, I mean, I feel like I couldn't, everybody always brought the groceries in for me, or anything that needed to be done around the house. Like, oh, send one of the boys to do it. And I really feel like if you work at it, that strength, we're still strong at 48 years old, or, so don't think that you can't do this thing. I mean, I use 5-10 pound weights at working out and stuff. But I can feel the strength from that. And, like, I think I told you the story about how one of my greatest walks was when Elijah asked me to go to Hawk Stream, and we had done that like 2 years before. And I think I would sit on a bench while they did things. And I walked that, and I could just feel the strength in my legs. And so, like you said, that happened one step at a time. That didn't happen, me working out all the time and doing all these things. That was over a period of a long time. But really, relatively speaking, in a year and a half, that's an amazing feat.
Yes.
For that, it is a short period of time. So even though it seems like it could take forever, just put one foot in front of the other.
Mm-hmm.
So
I love that. So I just want to thank you for being willing to come and share your story with us today, because it truly is inspiring, and it just really has been a joy to see your smile. It's been infectious, and just to see that something good is going on. And I didn't know what it was, but boy, it's contagious. And so thank you for doing that. And it's my hope that by sharing our stories, we can help other women get on that same pathway, because it's hard to do by yourself. And so that's why I had you here today. And I love what you shared. Thank you so much for being a guest today. And
well, thank you. And thank you for doing this. And you are such an inspiration yourself, and just the wisdom that you put out there, and the way you live your life is definitely an inspiration as well. So
thank you. Thank you. Well, ladies, I hope that there are some things in here that are inspiring for you today and that are the thing that you needed to hear today. And take that and take a small step with it. Don't feel like you have to go all in, just to take a small step with it and make sure that you show up again tomorrow. So tomorrow will be day 17 on the 30-day Better Mind and Body Challenge, and we'll see you then.
Bye, thanks.